The Mahabharata Adi Parva. Section CCXV. Arjuna Vanavasa Parva. Vaisampayana said, the Pandavas, having established such a rule, continued to reside there. By the prowess of their arms they brought many kings under their sway. And Krishna became obedient unto all the 5 sons of Parita, those lions among men, of immeasurable energy. Like the river Sarasvati decked with elephants, which again take pleasure in that stream, Draupadi took great delight in her 5 heroic husbands, and they too took delight in her. And in consequence of the illustrious Pandavas being exceedingly virtuous in their practice, the whole race of Kurus, free from sin, and happy, grew in prosperity. After some time, O king, it so happened that certain robbers lifted the cattle of a Brahmana, and while they were carrying away the booty, the Brahmana, deprived of his senses by anger, repaired to Kandavaprastha, and began to reprove the Pandavas in accents of woe. The Brahmana said, Ye Pandavas, from this your dominion, my kine are even now being taken away by force by despicable and wicked wretches. Pursue ye the thieves. Alas, the sacrificial butter of a peaceful Brahmana is being taken away by crows. Alas, the wretched jackal invadeth the empty cave of a lion. A king that taketh the 6th part of the produce of the land without protecting the subject, hath been called by the wise to be the most sinful person in the whole world. The wealth of a Brahmana is being taken away by robbers. Virtue itself is sustaining a diminution. Take me up by the hand, ye Pandavas, for I am plunged in grief. Vaisampayana continued, Dhananjaya, the son of Kunti, heard those accents of the Brahmana weeping in bitter grief. As soon as he heard those accents, he loudly assured the Brahmana, saying, No fear. But it so happened that the chamber where the illustrious Pandavas had their weapons was then occupied by Yudhishthira the just with Krishna. Arjuna, therefore, was incapable of entering it or going alone with the Brahmana, though repeatedly urged to do either, by the weeping accents of the Brahmana. Summoned by the Brahmana, Arjuna reflected, with a sorrowful heart, Alas, this innocent Brahmana's wealth is being robbed. I should certainly dry up his tears. He hath come to our gate, and is weeping even now. If I do not protect him, the king will be touched with sin in consequence of my indifference. Our own irreligiousness will be cited throughout the kingdom, and we shall incur a great sin. If, disregarding the king, I enter the chamber, without doubt I shall be behaving untruthfully towards the monarch without a foe. By entering the chamber, again, I incur the penalty of an exile in the woods. But I must overlook everything. I care not if I have to incur sin by disregarding the king. I care not if I have to go to the woods and die there. Virtue is superior to the body and lasteth after the body hath perished. Dhananjaya, arriving at this resolution, entered the chamber and talked with Yudhishthira. Coming out with the bow, he cheerfully told the Brahmana, Proceed, O Brahmana, with haste, so that those wretched robbers may not go much ahead of us. I shall accompany thee and restore unto thee thy wealth that hath fallen into the hands of the thieves. Then Dhananjaya, capable of using both his arms with equal skill, armed with the bow and cased in mail and riding in his war chariot decked with a standard, pursued the thieves, and piercing them with his arrows, compelled them to give up the booty. Benefiting the Brahmana thus by making over to him his kine, and winning great renown, the hero returned to the capital, bowing unto all the elders, and congratulated by everybody. Parth at last approached Yudhishthira, and addressing him, said, Give me leave, O Lord, to observe the vow I took. In beholding thee sitting with Draupadi, I have violated the rule established by ourselves. I shall therefore go into the woods, for this is even our understanding. Then Yudhishthira, suddenly hearing those painful words, became afflicted with grief, and said in an agitated voice, Why? A little while after, King Yudhishthira in grief said unto his brother Dhananjaya of curly hair, who never departed from his vows, these words: O sinless one, if I am an authority worthy of regard, listen to what I say. O hero, full well do I know the reason why thou hadst entered my chamber and didst what thou regardest to be an act disagreeable to me. But there is no displeasure in my mind. The younger brother may, without fault, enter the chamber where the elder brother sitteth with his wife. It is only the elder brother that acts against the rules of propriety by entering the room where the younger brother sitteth with his wife. Therefore, O thou of mighty arms, desist from thy purpose. Do what I say. Thy virtue hath sustained no diminution. Thou hast not disregarded me. Arjuna, hearing this, replied, I have heard, even from thee, that quibbling is not permitted in the discharge of duty. I cannot waver from truth. Truth is my weapon. Vaisampayana continued, obtaining then the king's permission, Arjuna prepared himself for a forest life, and he went to the forest to live there for 12 years. Section Kati. Arjuna Vanavasa Parva continued. Vaisampayana said, when that spreader of the renown of Kuru's race, the strong-armed Arjuna, set out, for the forest, Brahmanas conversant with the Vedas walked behind that illustrious hero to a certain distance, followed by Brahmanas conversant with the Vedas and their branches and devoted to the contemplation of the Supreme Spirit, by persons skilled in music, by ascetics devoted to the deity, by reciters of Puranas, by narrators of sacred stories, by devotees leading celibate lives, by vanaprasthas, by Brahmanas sweetly reciting celestial histories, and by various other classes of persons of sweet speeches, Arjuna journeyed like Indra, followed by the Maruts. And, O thou of Bharata's race, that bull among the Bharatas saw, as he journeyed, many delightful and picturesque forests, lakes, rivers, seas, provinces, and waters. At length, on arriving at the source of the Ganges, the mighty hero thought of settling there. Listen now, O Janamejaya, to a wonderful feat which that foremost of the sons of Pandu, of high soul, did, while living there. When that son of Kunti, O Bharata, and the Brahmanas who had followed him, took up their residence in that region, the latter performed innumerable Agnihotras, sacrificial rites, by igniting the sacred fire. And, O king, in consequence of those learned vow-observing, and illustrious Brahmanas, who never deviated from the right path, daily establishing and igniting with mantras on the banks of that sacred stream, after the performance of their ablutions, fires for their sacrifices, and pouring libations of clarified butter into the same, and worshipping those fires with offerings of flowers, that region itself where the Ganges entered the plains became exceedingly beautiful. One day that bull amongst the Pandavas, while residing in that region in the midst of those Brahmanas, descended, as usual, into the Ganges to perform his ablutions. After his ablutions had been over, and after he had offered oblations of water unto his deceased ancestors, he was about to get up from the stream to perform his sacrificial rites before the fire, when the mighty armed hero, O king, was dragged into the bottom of the water by Ulupi, the daughter of the king of the Nagas, urged by the god of desire. And it so happened that the son of Pandu was carried into the beautiful mansion of Kauravya. the king of the Nagas. Arjuna saw there a sacrificial fire ignited for himself. Beholding that fire, Dhananjaya, the son of Kunti, performed his sacrificial rites with devotion. And Agni was much gratified with Arjuna for the fearlessness with which that hero had poured libations into his manifest form. After he had thus performed his rites before the fire, the son of Kunti, beholding the daughter of the king of the Nagas, addressed her smilingly and said, "O handsome girl, what an act of rashness hast thou done! O timid one! Whose is this beautiful region, who art thou and whose daughter?" Hearing these words of Arjuna, Ulupi answered, "There is a Naga of the name of Kauravya, born in the line of Airavata. I am, O prince, the daughter of that Kauravya, and my name is Ulupi. O tiger among men! Beholding thee descend into the stream to perform thy ablutions, I was deprived of reason by the god of desire. O sinless one, I am still unmarried. Afflicted as I am by the god of desire on account of thee, O thou of Kuru's race, gratify me today by giving thyself up to me." Arjuna replied, commanded by King Yudhishthira, "O amiable one, I am undergoing the vow of Brahmacharin for 12 years. I am not free to act in any way I like. But, O ranger of the waters, I am still willing to do thy pleasure, if I can. I have never spoken an untruth in my life. Tell me, therefore, O Naga maid, how I may act so that, while doing thy pleasure, I may not be guilty of any untruth or breach of duty." Ulupi answered, "I know, O son of Pandu, why thou wanderest over the earth, and why thou hast been commanded to lead the life of a Brahmacharin by the superior. Even this was the understanding to which all of you had been pledged, viz., that amongst you all owning Drupada's daughter as your common wife, he who would from ignorance enter the room where one of you would be sitting with her, should lead the life of a Brahmacharin in the woods for 12 years. The exile of any one amongst you, therefore, is only for the sake of Draupadi. Thou art but observing the duty arising from that vow. Thy virtue cannot sustain any diminution by acceding to my solicitation. Then again, O thou of large eyes, it is a duty to relieve the distressed. Thy virtue suffereth no diminution by relieving me. Oh, if, by this act, O Arjuna, thy virtue doth suffer a small diminution, thou wilt acquire great merit by saving my life. Know me for thy worshipper, O Parth. Therefore, yield thyself up to me. Even this, O Lord, is the opinion of the wise, viz., that one should accept a woman that wooeth. If thou do not act in this way, know that I will destroy myself. O thou of mighty arms, earn great merit by saving my life. I seek thy shelter, O best of men. Thou protectest always, O son of Kunti, the afflicted and the masterless. I seek thy protection, weeping in sorrow. I woo thee, being filled with desire. Therefore, do what is agreeable to me. It behoveth thee to gratify my wish by yielding thyself up to me." Vaisampayana said, thus addressed by the daughter of the king of the Nagas, the son of Kunti did everything she desired, making virtue his motive. The mighty Arjuna, spending the night in the mansion of the Naga, rose with the sun in the morning. Accompanied by Ulupi he came back from the palace of Kauravya to the region where the Ganges entereth the plains. The chaste Ulupi, taking her leave there, returned to her own abode. And, O Bharata, she granted unto Arjuna a boon making him invincible in water, saying, "Every amphibious creature shall, without doubt, be vanquishable by thee. Section Kaitai. Arjuna Vanavasa Parva continued. Vaisampayana said, then the son of the wielder of the thunderbolt narrated everything unto those Brahmanas, residing with him there, set out for the breast of Himavat. Arriving at the spot called Agasthyavada, he next went to Vasishtha's peak. Thence the son of Kunti proceeded to the peak of Bhrigu, purifying himself with ablutions and other rites. There, that foremost of the Kurus gave away unto Brahmanas many thousands of cows and many houses. Thence that best of men proceeded to the sacred asylum called Hiranyabindhu, performing his ablutions there. That foremost of the sons of Pandu saw many holy regions descending from those heights. That chief of men, O Bharata, accompanied by the Brahmanas, journeyed towards the east, desiring to behold the regions that lay in that direction. That foremost one of Kuru's race saw many regions of sacred waters one after another. And beholding in the forest of Nyamisha the delightful river Utpalani, full of lotuses, and the Nanda and the Apara. Nanda, the far-famed Kausaki, and the mighty rivers Gaya and Ganga, and all the regions of sacred water, he purified himself, O Bharata, with the usual rites, and gave away many cows unto Brahmanas. Whatever regions of sacred waters and whatever other holy palaces there were in Vanga and Kalinga, Arjuna visited all of them. Seeing them all and performing proper ceremonies, he gave away much wealth. Then, O Bharata, all those Brahmanas following the son of Pandu, bade him farewell at the gate of the kingdom of Kalinga and desisted from proceeding with him any further. The brave Dhananjaya, the son of Kunti, obtaining their leave, went towards the ocean, accompanied by only a few attendants. Crossing the country of the Kalinas, the mighty one proceeded, seeing on his way diverse countries and sacred spots and diverse delightful mansions and houses. Beholding the Mahendra mountain adorned with the ascetics residing there, he went to Manipura, proceeding slowly along the seashore. Beholding all the sacred waters and other holy places in that province, the strong-armed son of Pandu at last went, O king, to the virtuous Chitravahana, the ruler of Manipura. The king of Manipura had a daughter of great beauty named Chitrangada. And it so happened that Arjuna beheld her in her father's palace roving at pleasure. Beholding the handsome daughter of Chitravahana, Arjuna desired to possess her. Going unto the king, her father, he represented unto him what he sought. He said, Give away unto me thy daughter, O king. I am an illustrious Kshatriya's son. Hearing this, the king asked him, Whose son art thou? Arjuna replied, I am Dhananjaya, the son of Pandu and Kunti. The king, hearing this, spoke unto him these words in sweet accents. There was in our race a king of the name of Prabhanjana, who was childless. To obtain a child, he underwent severe ascetic penances. By his severe asceticism, O Parth, he gratified that god of gods, Mahadeva, the husband of Uma. That supreme lord holding, the mighty bow called, Panyaka. The illustrious Lord granted him the boon that each successive descendant of his race should have one child only. In consequence of that boon only one child is born unto every successive descendant of this race. All my ancestors, one after another, had each a male child. I, however, have only a daughter to perpetuate my race. But, O bull amongst men, I ever look upon this daughter of mine as my son. O bull of Bharata's race, I have duly made her a putrika. Therefore, one amongst the sons that may be begotten upon her by thee, O Bharata, shall be the perpetuator of my race. That son is the dower for which I may give away my daughter. O son of Pandu, if them choosest, thou canst take her upon this understanding. Hearing these words of the king, Arjuna accepted them all, saying, so be it. Taking Chitrabhana's daughter, as his wife, the son of Kunti resided in that city for 3 years. When Chitrangada at last gave birth to a son, Arjuna embraced that handsome princess affectionately. And taking leave of the king, her father, he set out on his wanderings again. Section 18. Arjuna Vanavasa Parva continued. Vaisampayana said, then that bull of Bharata's race went to the sacred waters on the banks of the southern ocean, all adorned with the ascetics residing there. And there lay scattered 5 such regions where also dwelt many ascetics. But those 5 waters themselves were shunned by all of them. Those sacred waters were called Agastya, and Subhadra and Paloma of great holiness, and Karandhama of great propitiousness, yielding the fruits of a horse sacrifice unto those that bathed there. And Bharadvaja, that great washer of sins, that foremost one among the Kurus, beholding those 5 sacred waters, and finding them uninhabited, and ascertaining also that they were shunned by the virtuous ascetics dwelling around, asked those pious men with joined hands, saying, why, O ascetics, are these 5 sacred waters shunned by utterers of Brahma? Hearing him, the ascetics replied, there dwell in these waters 5 large crocodiles which take away the ascetics that may happen to bathe in them. It is for this, O son of Kuru's race, that these waters are shunned. Vaisampayana continued, hearing these words of the ascetics, that foremost of men endued with mighty arms, though dissuaded by them went to behold those waters. Arrived at the excellent sacred water called Subhadra after a great rishi, the brave scorcher of all foes suddenly plunged into it to have a bath. As soon as that tiger among men had plunged into the water, a great crocodile, that was in it, seized him by the leg. But the strong-armed Dhananjaya the son of Kunti, that foremost of all men endued with might, seized that struggling ranger of the water, and dragged it forcibly to the shore. But dragged by the renowned Arjuna to the land, that crocodile became transformed into a beautiful damsel, bedecked with ornament. O king, that charming damsel of celestial form seemed to shine for her beauty and complexion. Dhananjaya, the son of Kunti, beholding that strange sight, asked that damsel with a pleased heart, who art thou, O beautiful one? Why hast thou been a ranger of the waters? Why also didst thou commit such a dreadful sin? The damsel replied, saying, I am, O mighty armed one, an Apsara that sported in the celestial woods. I am, O mighty one, Varga by name, and ever dear unto the celestial treasurer, Kuvera. I have 4 other companions, all handsome and capable of going everywhere at will. Accompanied by them I was one day going to the abode of Kuvera. On the way we beheld a Brahmana of rigid vows, and exceedingly handsome, studying the Vedas in solitude. The whole forest, in which he was sitting, seemed to be covered with his ascetic splendor. He seemed to have illuminated the whole region like the sun himself. Beholding his ascetic devotion of that nature and his wonderful beauty, we alighted in that region, in order to disturb his meditations. Myself and Sarabhai and Samiki and Vyadvuta and Lata approached that Brahmana, O Bharata, at the same time. We began to sing and smile and otherwise tempt that Brahmana. But, O hero, that Brahmana youth set not his heart even once upon us. His mind fixed on pure meditation, that youth of great energy suffered not his heart to waver, O Bull among Kshatriyas, the glance he cast upon us was one of wrath. And he said, staring at us, becoming crocodiles, range ye the waters for 100 years. Section 6. Arjuna Vanavasa Parva continued. Vaisampayana said, Varga continued, we were then, O foremost one of Bharata's race, deeply distressed at this curse. We sought to propitiate that Brahmana of ascetic wealth that departed not from his vow. Addressing him, we said, inflated with the sense of our beauty and youth, and urged by the god of desire, we have acted very improperly. It behoveth thee, O Brahmana, to pardon us. Truly, O Brahmana, it was death to us that we had at all come hither to tempt thee of rigid vows and ascetic wealth. The virtuous, however, have said that women should never be slain. Therefore grow thou in virtue. It behoveth thee not to slay us. So, O thou that art conversant with virtue, it hath been said that a Brahmana is ever the friend of every creature. O thou of great prosperity, let this speech of the wise become true. The eminent always protect those that seek protection at their hands. We seek thy protection. It behoveth thee to grant us pardon. Vaisampayana continued, thus addressed, that Brahmana of virtuous soul and good deeds and equal in splendor, O hero, unto the sun or the moon, became propitious unto them. And the Brahmana said, the words 100 and 100,000 are all indicative of eternity. The word 100, however, as employed by me is to be understood as a limited period and not indicative of a period without end. Ye shall, therefore, becoming crocodiles, seize and take away men, for only 100 years as explained by me. At the end of that period, an exalted individual will drag you all from water to the land. Then ye will resume your real forms. Never have I spoken an untruth even in jest. Therefore, all that I have said must come to pass. And those sacred waters, within which I assign you your places, will, after you will have been delivered by that individual, become known all over the world by the name of Nari Tirthas, or sacred waters connected with the sufferings and the deliverance of females, and all of them shall become sacred and sin-cleansing in the eyes of the virtuous and the wise. Vaisampayana continued, Varga then addressing Arjuna, finished her discourse, saying, hearing these words of the Brahmana, we saluted him with reverence and walked round him. Leaving that region we came away with heavy hearts, thinking as we proceeded, where shall we all soon meet with that man who will give us back our own shapes, after our transformation. As we were thinking of it, in almost a moment, O Bharata, we beheld even the eminent celestial Rishi Narada. Beholding that Rishi of immeasurable energy, our hearts were filled with joy. Saluting him with reverence, O Parth, we stood before him, with blushing faces. He asked of us the cause of our sorrow and we told him all. Hearing what had happened, the Rishi said, in the lowlands bordering on the southern ocean, there are 5 regions of sacred water. They are delightful and eminently holy. Go ye thither without delay. That tiger among men, Dhananjaya, the son of Pandu of pure soul, will soon deliver you, without doubt, from this sad plight. O hero, hearing the Rishi's words, all of us came hither. O sinless one, true it is that I have today been delivered by thee. But those 4 friends of mine are still within the other waters here. O hero, do a good deed by delivering them also. Vaisampayana continued, then, O monarch, that foremost of the Pandavas, endued with great prowess, cheerfully delivered all of them from that curse. Rising from the waters they all regained their own forms. Those Apsaras then, O king, all looked as before. Freeing those sacred waters from the danger for which they had been notorious, and giving the Apsaras leave to go where they chose, Arjuna became desirous of once more beholding Chitrangada. He, therefore, proceeded towards the city of Manipura. Arrived there, he beheld on the throne the son he had begotten upon Chitrangada, and who was called by the name of Vabharuvahana. Seeing Chitrangada once more, Arjuna proceeded, O monarch, towards the spot called Gokarna. Section CCXX. Arjuna Vanavasa Parva continued. Vaisampayana said, Then Arjuna of immeasurable prowess saw, one after another, all the sacred waters and other holy places that were on the shores of the western ocean. Vibhatsa reached the sacred spot called Prabhasa. When the invisible Arjuna arrived at that sacred and delightful region, the slayer of Madhu, Krishna, heard of it. Madhav soon went there to see his friend, the son of Kunti. Krishna and Arjuna met together and embracing each other inquired after each other's welfare. Those dear friends, who were none else than the rishis Nara and Narayana of old, sat down. Vasudeva asked Arjuna about his travels, saying, Why, O Pandava, art thou wandering over the earth, beholding all the sacred waters and other holy places? Then Arjuna told him everything that had happened. Hearing everything, that mighty hero of Vrishni's race said, This is as it should be. And Krishna and Arjuna, having sported as they liked, for some time at Prabhasa, went to the Ravataka mountain to pass some days there. Before they arrived at Ravataka, that mountain had, at the command of Krishna, been well adorned by many artificers. Much food also had, at Krishna's command, been collected there. Enjoying everything that had been collected there for him, Arjuna sat with Vasudeva to see the performances of the actors and the dancers. Then the high-souled Pandava, dismissing them all with proper respect, laid himself down on a well-adorned and excellent bed. As the strong-armed one lay on that excellent bed, he described unto Krishna everything about the sacred waters, the lakes and the mountains, the rivers and the forests he had seen. While he was speaking of these, stretched upon that celestial bed, sleep, O Janamejaya, stole upon him. He rose in the morning, awakened by sweet songs and melodious notes of the veena, guitar, and the panegyrics and benedictions of the bards. After he had gone through the necessary acts and ceremonies, he was affectionately accosted by him of the Vrishni race. Riding upon a golden car, the hero then set out for Dvarka, the capital of the Yadvas. And, O Janamejaya, for honoring the son of Kunti, the city of Dvarka was well adorned, even all the gardens and houses within it. The citizens of Dvarka, desirous of beholding the son of Kunti, began to pour eagerly into the public thoroughfares by hundreds of thousands. In the public squares and thoroughfares, hundreds and thousands of women, mixing with the men, swelled the great crowd of the Bhojas, the Vrishnas, and the Andhakas, that had collected there. Arjuna was welcomed with respect by all the sons of Bhojas, the Vrishnas, and the Andhakas. And he, in his turn, worshipped those that deserved his worship, receiving their blessings. The hero was welcomed with affectionate reception by all the young men of the Yadva tribe. He repeatedly embraced all that were equal to him in age. Wending then to the delightful mansion of Krishna that was filled with gems and every article of enjoyment, he took up his abode there with Krishna for many days.